This is Elton Kane for Finextra at the FinTech Stage Inclusion Forum in Jakarta, and I'm here with Julius Akinyemi, who is MIT Media Lab Entrepreneur in Residence and CEO of UWIN Corp. Julius, thanks for taking the time to speak to us.
It's a pleasure.
When you set out to create UWIN Corp, you were looking at systemic problems in Africa that you could address to improve financial inclusion. Can you tell us a little bit about those problems you identified?
Absolutely. As I mentioned during the discussion, financial inclusion is something that I live and breathe almost every day because of where I come from in Nigeria. And identifying those issues and then coming out with solutions become a personal challenge for me. And that's what I've done. So living the life of the people locally and then visiting them and finding out some of the things they are doing that is correct, in terms of how we pour that from a traditional way to a digital platform, then becomes part of the solution. So being able to live the life and then seeing it through their eyes and how we could empower them to be able to do better and make them more financially inclusive becomes a lot easier that way.
So you said on the one hand that we kind of looked at the lack of property rights and also the lack of an established commodity financial market in place in African nations. How did you go about trying to address both of those problems at once?
Right. Those are kind of things you do after you experience, the life of the people, because the registry of the property is something that we all know. As I show on some of the graphs, that there is a high correlation between people and countries that have property rights and leverage that property right to empower themselves, to have affordable capital to use. That grows the wealth of those individuals. And because we didn't have that in African countries, obviously that contributes to the poverty. And in most cases, when you try to do that, people are always afraid that if they register their property, there will be taxation and on and on. So there was a little bit of more innovative thinking that, okay, how do we make this a win-win for everybody? And that's how I came about the idea of not only registering the property, we value them, and then we use the value to allow them to be able to trade their commodity. And the advantage of that is, instead of somebody coming in to pay them pennies on the dollar on the commodity, now they get to actually get the market price, which to them is an increase in their revenue, so they don't mind paying the tax after all. So it's a win-win for everybody.
It's the incentive.
Yes, it's the incentive for them to be able to declare and then feel comfortable that at least at the end, they are still better off financially than when they didn't declare. So I'm kind of very happy to see that.
So you plan to introduce a mobile commodity exchange in Africa, enabling commodity traders, commodity producers to have greater access to trade and future pricing of their goods. When these commodity exchanges were created in developed nations, they also started out looking at kind of risk management, improving trade flows, but they increasingly moved into the speculative realm. How do you stop speculation effect happening if you introduce a commodity exchange into these African countries?
Actually, a lot of African countries they consider hedging as a crime. So they don't want you to hedge. But buying futures is okay because basically you are forward contracting, which allows individuals to be able to get paid for what they will deliver. So that's not hedging. You are basically mapping the future production to, you are looking at the net present value of today, they get that net present value, then they get to deliver. So that's what we focus on. And by focusing just on that, the power is so immense and the volume of trade is so immense that if you just do that, that's more than enough to basically change the life of everybody around, not to talk about the hedging and all the fast trading activities and that kind, high frequency trading, which I don't think they need all of that. What they need is something that will give them a marginal increase on the volume of trade on a formal platform, which in effect has a ripple effect on the, on the GDP of that country, and of course, it improves the, the money circulation in the economy, which is what we are trying to do, and make them much more inclusive of what is going on in the country. Actually, the response has been phenomenal, and the government of Cameroon actually gave us a mandate to implement already, which I'm very, very proud and happy to see. It's not too often that a whole country put their a system of trade in your hand, and they say, well, we trust you enough to go do that. So we are very, very, very happy to see that. And there are other countries that are equally interested. All of the Central African countries already made a commitment that, well, if we finish up Cameroon, because they're the kind of center around Cameroon, they want us to finish with them before we do something else. So again, I couldn't be happier. Not so much of the project, but so much of the excitement of the people whose life we are going to change, that are very, very willing and open to the change in the system, because it's going to empower them and be able to move forward. So I'm very happy about that.
So you have the technology for the mobile commodity exchange in place, and you're looking to implement that there first?
Yes, we have the technology as a base. Of course, like any other technology, what I expect is that as we implement, we will continue to tweak and then make sure that, as I told everybody, we will nuance it, to the environment. And at the same time, I expect, because I've learned a lot the last 5 years that I've been working on the project, I've learned a lot that there is so much that we don't know that we think we know. But the people that actually live the life, they know far better than we do. So I expect them to come up with new ideas and even new uses and new products that we never thought about. And all I want to do is just get this started and then let them be also co-owners of the concept, and then be able to develop other products that will be useful to them and that will empower everybody to be able to do better. And to me, if we just do that, I'll be the happiest.
Julius, thanks for your time.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.